Welcome to the channel. Today we will explore a surprising and shocking topic: 90s stars who are now paying the price behind bars. They were once idols associated with the childhood of millions of people, from the big screen to popular TV shows. But the halo could not hide the serious mistakes they made in real life. So what happened that made them fall from the peak of fame to the bottom of the abyss of prison? Watch the video to discover the truth behind the cases that shocked Hollywood. Do you remember any of your childhood idols from the 90s? If you were a fan of one of the stars featured in today's video, please comment 1, otherwise please comment 0. Let's discover the truth behind the halo and the names that once made waves. Don't forget to like the video, leave a sub, and turn on the bell to support the channel. That's a great motivation for me to continue bringing more interesting stories. Marion Suge Knight Jr. was once one of the most powerful figures in the music industry. In the early 1990s, he founded Death Row Records, a label that defined West Coast rap. Under his leadership, artists like Dr. Dre and Tupac released albums that became cultural landmarks. For many fans, Death Row represented the raw truth, giving voice to the streets and struggles that mainstream America often ignored. But while Knight built a music empire, his name was always associated with fear and violence. There was talk of his gang ties and the way he used threats to get what he wanted. There were rumors that he ordered hits on rivals, and there was even suspicion that he was involved in the infamous murder of Biggie Smalls. Despite the constant controversy, Knight continued to expand his business, living as a man who believed he would never be held accountable. That changed in 2015. Near the set of Straight Outta Compton, Knight had a confrontation with Claiborne Sloan and Terry Carter. Security footage shows Knight backing his truck into Sloan, then driving forward and hitting Carter. While Sloan survived his injuries, Carter died, and the shocking footage quickly spread across social media. For many, it confirmed what they had always feared about the man behind Death Row Records. In 2018, Suge Knight accepted a plea deal. He was sentenced to 28 years in prison, 22 for voluntary manslaughter, and 6 more under California's 3 strikes law. Today, the man who once dominated West Coast rap is behind bars. His empire is long gone. His story remains a reminder that no matter how high someone rises or how terrifying he is, the law will eventually catch up. New whispers in the hip-hop community suggest that Suge Knight once plotted to attack Sean Diddy Combs in their bitter East Coast-West Coast rivalry. Some insiders claim Suge felt Diddy was meddling too deeply in Death Row's secretive business dealings, while others say it was pure jealousy over Biggie's growing fame. What do you think? Was Suge Knight protecting his empire or just trying to ruin Diddy out of spite? In the late 1990s, That 70s Show became one of America's most beloved sitcoms. Danny Masterson played Stephen Hyde, a sarcastic, level-headed teenager with a dry sense of humor. Fans loved his rebellious attitude and sharp one-liners, making him a standout character on the show. For 8 seasons, Masterson appeared on screens across the country, and many viewers considered him a fun, carefree guy they wanted to be friends with. But behind his glamorous TV persona lies a darker reality. In 2017, the Los Angeles Police Department began investigating Masterson after 3 women accused him of sexual assault. They claimed the incidents occurred in the early 2000s at the height of his career. The allegations also included that the Church of Scientology, of which Masterson was a member, attempted to cover up the allegations and silence the victims. For years, these stories remained hidden from the public eye. In 2020, formal charges were filed against Masterson for raping 3 women. During his trial, two of the victims gave detailed testimony describing how he attacked them in his home. Masterson denied all the charges, maintaining his innocence throughout the proceedings. But in 2023, a jury found him guilty on 2 rape charges, while the third charge ended in a suspended trial. The judge sentenced him to 30 years in prison, saying his actions had caused lasting pain and trauma to the victims. Danny Masterson's life quickly fell apart after the verdict. His wife, actress Bijou Phillips, filed for divorce just weeks after he was convicted. Masterson's attorney tried to get bail on appeal, but was denied because the court deemed him a flight risk. Once a familiar TV comedian, he is now behind bars with a sentence that reflects the severity of his crimes. The case is a reminder that fame cannot protect anyone from the consequences of wrongdoing. Recently leaked documents revealed that Masterson had paid hush money to those who might have damaged his reputation. Whether it was to protect himself or to hide the truth, the move has sparked a fierce debate. The public has asked, can wealth and fame buy justice? When cases like this come to light, faith in the legal system is severely tested. What do you think? Does fame protect people from accountability? In the mid-1990s, Tammy Sytch became one of the most popular figures in professional wrestling. Known by her ring name Sunny, she began her career as the manager of the Body Donnas in the WWF. Her charisma, energy, and confidence quickly made her a star. At the height of her career, she was not only popular among wrestling fans, she was the most downloaded woman on AOL, transcending the ring and into popular culture. But as her fame grew, so did her personal troubles. Over the years, Sytch faced multiple arrests for driving under the influence. Her driver's license was suspended multiple times, and her behavior worried fans who had watched her rise to the top. Despite these warnings, she continued to drink and drive, creating a dangerous pattern that would eventually end in tragedy. On March 20th, 2022, tragedy struck. Sytch was arrested in Florida after the car she was driving collided with another vehicle, killing 75-year-old Julian LaCosta. Tests showed alcohol and traces of marijuana in her system at the time of the accident. For many, it was heartbreaking to see someone who had inspired young women in wrestling fall to the point of causing the death of an innocent life because of her choices. In November 2023, Tammy Sytch, aka Sunny, WWE's first diva, was sentenced to 17 years in prison for drunken manslaughter. Attorney R.J. Lareza commented that her drunken driving record was horrific and that it was only a matter of time before she died. Now, Sunny is behind bars, reminding everyone that fame is no excuse for dangerous behavior and that every decision has consequences, no matter who you are. Remember her days of shining in the WWF. That's all in the past, right? What do you think? Should celebrities who commit crimes be given leniency? If yes, comment number 2. If no, comment number 5. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to support the channel and follow the next videos. During the 1990s, R. Kelly was one of the biggest names in music. His songs like Bump and Grind and I Believe I Can Fly became anthems of the decade. Fans around the world admired his powerful voice and songwriting talent. For many, his music was played at weddings, graduations, and other special moments, becoming a part of the soundtrack of their lives. But behind his success lies a history of disturbing rumors. Even at the height of his fame, stories of inappropriate relationships with minors circulated. In 2002, he faced charges after videos surfaced of him engaging in sexual acts with an underage girl. However, the charges were dismissed due to lack of evidence, and Kelly continued to release hit albums, tour, and live as if no one could touch him. That changed in 2019 when the documentary Surviving R. Kelly aired, featuring testimony from multiple women who accused him of sexual abuse and manipulation. The documentary shocked audiences around the world and prompted new investigations into his past actions. In 2022, R. Kelly was sentenced to 30 years in prison for extortion and sex trafficking after a court found he had used his fame to exploit women and girls. The following year, he received an additional 20 years for child pornography charges, though much of that sentence will run concurrently with his existing sentence. R. Kelly has repeatedly tried to appeal the convictions against him, but the courts have upheld the decisions keeping him in prison. Although he was once an R&B legend with many hit songs, his musical legacy is now overshadowed by serious crimes. Those actions have destroyed his life and left deep wounds that music cannot heal. His illustrious career has become a painful memory for his fans and a reminder that fame cannot protect anyone from the consequences of their actions. Recently, the shocking news that R. Kelly will reportedly be released from prison early in 2025 after his legal team negotiated a plea deal on health grounds. The decision has caused a lot of controversy in public opinion. Victim advocates see it as an affront to justice and a blow to those who have been hurt, while his supporters say it is a human right and necessary mercy. So what do you think? Is this a victory for human rights or a serious failure of justice? In the early 1990s, Amy Locane was a rising star in Hollywood. She appeared in films like School Ties alongside Brendan Fraser, Matt Damon, and Ben Affleck, showcasing her acting chops among future A-list stars. Many fans remember her for her role as Sandy Harling in the first season of Melrose Place, where she played a sweet and ambitious waitress trying to make her dreams come true. At the time, her future seemed bright and promising. But her life took a dark turn years later. In 2010, Locane attended a party to celebrate her role in a local theater play. After drinking at the event, she drove home. On the way, she rear-ended another car that was stopped at a red light. The driver of that car noticed she smelled of alcohol and tried to talk to her, but Locane panicked and sped away. Minutes after driving drunk, Amy Locane crashed into Fred and Hella Seaman's car as they turned into their driveway. The horrific crash killed Hela from her injuries and left her husband Fred critically injured. Police determined that Locane's blood alcohol level was nearly 3 times the legal limit. In court, Locane expressed deep remorse, admitting that my addiction killed someone. Her confession reflected her inner turmoil and the pain she caused the victim's family. In 2012, Amy Locane was sentenced to 3 years in prison for drunken manslaughter. She was released on parole in 2015 after serving part of her sentence. However, in 2019, a judge deemed her original sentence too lenient and sentenced her to an additional 8 years, including time already served. Once a star on the big screen, she now faces a life behind bars. Locane's story is a stark reminder of the dire consequences of reckless choices. For decades, Harvey Weinstein was one of the most powerful men in Hollywood. As a film producer and co-founder of Miramax and the Weinstein Company, he helped create some of the biggest films of the 1990s and early 2000s. Films like Pulp Fiction and Shakespeare in Love won critical acclaim and countless awards. For many in the film industry, Weinstein was seen as someone who could make or break a career with a single phone call. But behind his success was a disturbing reputation that had been whispered about for years. Many portrayed him as a tough and aggressive businessman, but the truth was much darker. In 2017, news reports revealed decades of sexual harassment and assault allegations against Weinstein by actresses and employees. The revelations sent shockwaves through Hollywood and the world, leading to the birth of the Me Too movement, as women everywhere began to speak out about their experiences of abuse and harassment. Since the initial wave of reports, many other women have come forward to share their stories. In 2018, Weinstein was arrested and charged with multiple counts of sexual assault. His first trial ended in 2020 with a 23-year sentence for sexual assault and rape involving 2 women. He was then sentenced again in 2023, this time to an additional 16 years for assaulting another woman in Los Angeles. Despite his appeals, the courts upheld the conviction, holding him liable for the harm he caused. Earlier this year, Weinstein's first conviction was overturned on procedural grounds, and a new trial was scheduled. He remains behind bars, however, serving his other sentences. Once one of the most feared and respected men in Hollywood, Harvey Weinstein, is now a prisoner. His story is a reminder that no amount of fame, power, or wealth can shield someone from facing justice for their actions. Rumors have it that Harvey Weinstein ran a VIP therapy ring in prison. Whispers inside the prison have suggested that Harvey Weinstein, while serving his sentence, quietly set up a secret rehabilitation program for influential inmates, allegedly holding private therapy sessions and self-help circles in his cell block, with other high-profile inmates attending his sessions. Some prison rumors even suggest that he mediates disputes between inmates, earning respect and informal power behind bars. If true, this raises big questions. Has Weinstein managed to carve out a comfortable VIP status inside a notoriously harsh prison system? What do you think is this praiseworthy rehabilitation, or corruption and favoritism at work? Once hailed as the female Steve Jobs of Silicon Valley, Elizabeth Holmes was a promising tech icon in the late 1990s and early 2000s. She founded Theranos, a company that aimed to change the way blood is tested, and raised hundreds of millions of dollars from investors. With her serious image, black turtlenecks, and deep voice, Holmes quickly became a symbol of a new generation of entrepreneurs. But beneath the glitz was an empire of lies. Theranos' devices didn't work as advertised, and thousands of patients received false test results. Eventually, the truth was revealed, ending her tech dreams. In 2022, Holmes was sentenced to 11 years in prison for defrauding investors and conspiracy to commit fraud. She is now serving time in a federal prison, away from the speaking engagements, the spotlight, and the startup world. Her image as a young genius has become a prime example of the dangers of greed and delusion. Elizabeth Holmes is no longer a tech star, but a prisoner in the biggest scandal in Silicon Valley history. Her story is a stark warning against idolizing premature success. And now Holmes is rotting behind bars, literally. Jared Fogle was a nationally recognized spokesperson for the Subway chain in the late 1990s and early 2000s. He became a weight loss icon after sharing his story of losing more than 200 pounds by eating Subway every day. Thanks to his friendly and positive image, Fogle appeared in a series of commercials, talk shows, and media events, becoming a real-life hero in the eyes of the public. However, behind that image was a completely different person. In 2015, the country was shocked when he was arrested for possession of child pornography and unlawful sexual relations with a minor. Jared Fogle went from being an inspirational icon to a symbol of unforgivable moral decay. Fogle was sentenced to more than 15 years in prison and is currently serving time in a federal prison. His crimes forced Subway to immediately cut ties and erase all traces of his name. He is no longer remembered as an inspiration, but as someone who abused his power and fame to commit crimes. His life is a warning that fame does not equate to good character. Jared Fogle now lives his days forgotten and despised, a name that rots behind bars for unforgivable crimes. His downfall is one of the biggest shocks in American popular culture. Chicago rapper Lil Reese rose to fame in the early 2010s, but has been active in the underground hip-hop scene since the late 1990s. He has collaborated with big names like Chief Keef and is known for his signature drill style. However, Lil Reese's career has been marred by violence, controversy, and legal troubles. He has been arrested multiple times for assault theft and most recently for weapons and domestic violence charges. These actions have led him to gradually slip away from the spotlight. Lil Reese is currently serving a prison sentence for serious crimes and could face years behind bars. His music career has all but stalled, and his image as a promising artist has been replaced by scandal and disappointment. He is a prime example of how fame cannot save a troubled life. Poor choices have cost him the chance to make it big in the music industry. And now Lil Reese is left with the dark echoes of his troubled past in a cold prison cell. Remy Ma was one of the most prominent female rappers of the 2000s, emerging from the Terror Squad with the hit Lean Back. She made a strong impression with her hard-hitting rap style and sharp lyrics, quickly becoming an icon in the hip-hop world. However, her stardom faded when in 2007, Remy Ma was arrested for shooting a woman during a dispute over money. She was sentenced to 8 years in prison for assault and illegal possession of a weapon. Her rising career was completely disrupted by bad choices. Remy Ma served her sentence at Bedford Hills Prison for Women and was released in 2014 after 6 years of rehabilitation. Since her release, she has worked to reintegrate into the music industry and rebuild her image. However, her criminal past remains an indelible part of her life. Although she is no longer rotting behind bars, Remy Ma is proof that a moment of impulsiveness can destroy an entire career. She is a cautionary tale about the cost of violence and the consequences of letting emotions overwhelm reason. Allison Mack was a famous star with the role of Chloe Sullivan on the series Smallville, a television icon for young people in the late 1990s and early 2000s. When her acting career was at its peak, few expected her to be involved with a scandalous organization called NXIVM. Here, Mack played an important role in recruiting and manipulating women to join a secret group where they were controlled both physically and mentally. In 2018, she was arrested on charges of human trafficking and organized crime conspiracy. The truth about her double life shocked the public. In 2021, Allison Mack was sentenced to 3 years in federal prison after pleading guilty and cooperating with the investigation. She was a model of intelligence and independence on screen, but off-screen, she was embroiled in one of Hollywood's darkest scandals. Mack issued a public apology to her victims, admitting that she had been blinded and swept up in power. Although her sentence was commuted for her cooperation, her name will forever be associated with NXIVM. Allison Mack's story is proof that fame cannot hide serious mistakes. And from the light of television, she fell into the darkness of a life of incarceration. Bill Cosby was one of the most beloved television icons of the 1980s and 1990s, best known for The Cosby Show and nicknamed America's Dad. He was praised not only for his acting talent, but also for his positive moral image in his roles and public life. However, That image was completely shattered when dozens of women accused him of sexual abuse over decades. In 2018, Cosby was sentenced to 3 to 10 years in prison for sexually assaulting Andrea Constand. This was a major turning point, marking the first time such a big star was convicted in the Me Too movement. However, in 2021, the Pennsylvania Supreme Court overturned the conviction for due process violations, and Cosby was released after more than 2 years in prison. Despite his release, his image and reputation were permanently tarnished. Now, instead of being remembered as a television legend, Bill Cosby is often referred to as a symbol of dishonesty and abuse of power. A series of titles, contracts, and awards that were awarded to him have all been revoked. Although no longer in prison, Cosby is still a rotting star in the public eye. Tory Lanez is a Canadian singer and rapper who rose to fame in the mid-2010s with hits like Say It and Lovey. He quickly became a familiar name in the R&B and hip-hop scenes, known for his versatile style and hit-making ability. However, his career took a major hit after a 2020 shooting incident, when rapper Megan Thee Stallion accused him of shooting her in the foot following an argument. Although Tory consistently denied the allegations, evidence and court testimony were stacked against him. In 2022, he was convicted of assault with a firearm and related charges. In 2023, Tory Lanez was sentenced to 10 years in prison, marking the downfall of one of the most promising artists of the new generation. Once a rising star, he has now become a controversial and disappointing figure in the entertainment industry. Many fans have turned their backs on him, while fellow artists have either remained silent or publicly criticized him. Tory's music career has come to a complete halt, and his public image is nearly beyond repair. He stands as a clear example of how violence and a lack of emotional control can destroy everything in a single night. Shah is one of the standout stars of the reality show The Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, which gained attention in the late 2010s, but built a popular image in the early 2020s. With her strong personality and luxurious style, she quickly became an entertainment and business icon on social media. However, in 2021, Shah was arrested on charges of financial fraud related to a phone scam targeting the elderly. The case shocked the public and overshadowed her image as a luxurious housewife on television. After the trial, she was convicted and sentenced to serve a federal prison sentence. Shah's imprisonment is a reminder of the serious consequences of illegal behavior, no matter how famous. From the glamorous spotlight, she now faces the cold reality behind bars. Jen's case is also a warning to many other celebrities about not being able to take advantage of fame to avoid legal responsibility. The days of luxury are now just a memory, as she has to pay the price for her wrong decisions. Shah is a clear example of the story of 90s, 2000s stars rotting in prison of the new era. Ricardo Medina Jr. is an American actor who rose to fame as the Red Wild Force Ranger in the Power Rangers Wild Force series in the early 2000s, becoming a fan favorite and a childhood icon. However, his career suffered a major blow in 2015 when he stabbed his roommate Joshua Sutter to death with a sword during an argument. Medina claimed he acted in self-defense, but the incident still caused a stir and completely changed his image. Initially released without charge, Medina was later charged with voluntary manslaughter and sentenced to 6 years in prison. The case shocked Power Rangers fans, as a once beloved star found himself in legal trouble. Ricardo Medina Jr. is currently serving a sentence and living a disrupted life away from the limelight and his acting career. Although he was released after about 3 years in prison, he still struggles with the consequences of his past. Medina's story is a testament to how a moment of inattention can ruin both a career and a personal life. He was once the hope of generations of audiences, but now he is a name associated with scandal and prison. It is a harsh warning to those who are on the cusp of success. Fame does not protect you from making serious mistakes. Gary Glitter, whose real name is Paul Gadd, was one of the most famous rock and glam rock stars of the late 1970s with hits like Rock and Roll Part 2. His music captivated millions, and he was seen as an icon of a vibrant, energetic style. However, Glitter's career was completely ruined by scandals related to sex crimes. He was convicted of multiple counts of child abuse and sexual assault in various countries. These prison sentences made him one of the most controversial and repulsive figures in the entertainment industry. Currently, Gary Glitter is still serving a prison sentence after repeated offenses and additional convictions. His once glorious career and reputation are now just dark memories overshadowed by serious crimes. From a famous rock star, he has become a symbol of complete moral and personal collapse. Glitter is clear evidence that talent cannot excuse crime, and his final days are passing in the darkness of prison, forever rotting behind bars. Tom Girardi, one of America's most famous lawyers, was once an icon of the legal profession with high-profile victories such as the Pacific Gas and Electric lawsuit in the movie Erin Brockovich. However, his career collapsed when it was discovered that he had embezzled more than $15 million in settlements from clients, including the families of victims of the 2018 Lion Air crash. In August 2024, Girardi was convicted of wire fraud and sentenced to 87 months in prison, along with a $35,000 fine and $2.3 million in restitution to victims. Although Girardi's attorney argued that he suffered from Alzheimer's disease and was not criminally responsible, the court found him competent to stand trial. In July 2025, Girardi voluntarily entered federal prison in Los Angeles to begin serving his sentence. Girardi's story is a cautionary tale of how greed can destroy careers and reputations, turning a once respected man into a criminal condemned by society. Sean Combs, also known as Diddy, has been an icon in hip-hop music and the entertainment industry since the 1990s as a rapper-producer and successful businessman. He is famous for many hit songs and is the owner of Bad Boy Records, helping to bring many young stars to the limelight. However, Diddy's fame and illustrious career were overshadowed when he was involved in many serious allegations of human trafficking and sexual abuse. In 2024, Diddy was arrested and convicted of conspiracy to traffic people for prostitution, shocking his fans. This was a huge shock to the public when a once-admired star fell into legal trouble. Diddy is currently serving a federal prison sentence facing serious legal and reputational consequences. His once illustrious career has been overshadowed by serious legal and ethical violations. His story is a clear example of how fame cannot protect anyone from serious mistakes in life. Once a successful icon in music and fashion, Diddy has now become a typical image of 90s stars who are currently rotting in jail. This is also a warning to many artists about the need to maintain ethics and responsibility in all actions. The stories of these 90s stars now behind bars are a reminder that fame cannot cover up all mistakes. Even those who were once loved by millions cannot escape the consequences of their wrongdoing. The limelight may be bright, but in real life, justice is still justice. Thanks for watching. If you found this topic interesting, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next outstanding stories.